And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So tonight, I'm going to be reviewing this new movie called The Hill. It's a biopic about Rickey Hill, and I can't wait to dive into this. I really enjoy this movie, and I think that you guys will too. So let's go on ahead, let's dive into it. And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a review of The Hill. And matter of fact, The Hill is about a guy named Rickey Hill, and this is actually a remarkable true life story of Rickey Hill's improbable journey to play Major League Baseball. Now, what I'm going to say is this: I think this film is fantastic. I think this is in a time that we actually need something a little bit more lightheartedness into this darkness that we have with cinema, because I think that a lot of the stuff that we have out today is actually dark, and you need some light within this darkness. And this is actually a movie that you can bring to your family to enjoy. It clocks in at 2 hours 6 minutes long. You don't even feel the 2 hour long runtime, which is also a good thing too. But let's go on ahead. Let's open this up and everything too. But like I said, this is actually the true life story of Rickey Hill and his journey to play Major League Baseball. Now, what I like about this is the fact that this is like an underdog story. This is basically like Rudy. As a matter of fact, it's the same writers who wrote Rudy as well. So that's something else that I really liked about it, was the fact that I love Rudy, and I like watching this underdog succeed into what he wants to be and what he wants to grow into be. And it's just remarkable everything that Rickey Hill has done. And he also suffered with a condition where he had like degenerative spinal disease, and that's something that is hard to come back from or anything like that. And I like how they actually used the word from the proverb, God works in mysterious ways, attributed to English poet William Cowper. And it holds true for Hill, because based on his life at Fort Worth native Rickey Hill, who was born with a degenerative spinal disease. And so basically, if you think about it like this, if you remember Forrest Gump had those braces on his legs and everything to try and help him being able to cope with his disease. And this is the same thing, it's kind of like the same condition that Rickey has. And his goal is to be a professional baseball player. And you have everybody pretty much saying, "Oh, you cannot do this because of your condition, because of the fact that something could happen to you. And what if this whole entire degenerative thing keeps on going? What's going to happen to you?" But Rickey has that heart. He has his heart and soul into being a baseball player. The only ones that are on his side is basically his brother, his grandmother, and also his girlfriend. And his father is also a preacher. And Dennis Quaid is a great actor. I really liked him as the father. I thought the father and son dynamic at the very beginning of this movie, because of the fact that we actually see Rickey at a little small kid, and he's also batting rocks as baseballs and everything, and he's actually accidentally hit somebody's window out. But everybody else can see the talent that Rickey has, and his own father is just blindsided to the fact that Rickey cannot do this. Rickey shouldn't be playing baseball. He should not be doing this because of the condition that he has. And he's also, as a preacher, telling his son that he cannot do something and not being there for him as a father, because he's so blindsided onto what he wants Rickey to be and walking the line of what he wants him to be rather than what Rickey wants to be. And therefore, he's thinking that he's doing everything against God's will, because of the fact that, it's not in the walking the same path that he's walking, that his father's walking in. So therefore, he winds up seeing that it's wrong in his eyes. But Rickey is still pursuing it. He still wants to be a baseball player. So they wind up also forging the signature later on in the movie too, for Rickey to be able to play baseball. But also another thing too, his own father gets kicked out of the congregation. And this is also a little bit of lightheartedness though to this movie. There's not so much darkness into it. It actually has a little bit of comedy element to it, which is something that I like. Because so whenever he gets kicked out of the congregation, they wind up packing their car up. They don't know where they're gonna go, and so he said, "God, give me a sign that there's nothing else that's gonna happen." Next thing you know, the tire blows out, and then he goes back inside the car. They start laughing about some stuff, and then next thing you know it, you wind up seeing another car pull up beside them, and this one person says, "Well, we do have an opening for a preacher in the next town, and so we would like for you to preach." He goes, "Well, I don't care where it is. I'll preach no matter what." Of course, they don't tell him that number one, the house that they're going to be staying in is basically a rundown house. The Also, too, the church is also a rundown house. This whole entire area in this town is also run down. So they don't tell him all this stuff, but he doesn't care. He needs to provide for his family. He does not know. And I like how he doesn't quite know how to do it. He does not know how he's going to go on ahead and provide for his family, but he's going to try because that's what a father does. He tries to do what he needs to do for his family. Then Ricky winds up meeting these neighborhood kids who winds up calling him Robot Boy and all that stuff. And Ricky winds up knocking the snot out of this ball that the kid is pitching him and knocks it about 300, 400 yards away, which is also close to the same distance, I believe, that he ended up hitting that rock and everything and made that home run. But still, you're rooting for this situation. And then when it goes into the teenage years of Ricky, you actually see where Ricky is at this moment, where you have scouts looking at him. You also have the same guy who winds up being there for Ricky as well, the one that ended up where Ricky accidentally cracked the windshield with the rock. You wind up seeing him basically being there for him and trying to get these scouts to notice him. And it's all about trying to, no matter where you're at, no matter what you do, you dust yourself off and you get back up again. But also, too, his father also gives him an ultimatum whenever he's little, where he's like, well, either you choose God or baseball. You cannot have both. Well, I like how his son puts it into perspective. I like how Ricky puts this thing in perspective, where he's like, well, I can have both. He goes, okay, how can you have both? I'll put God first, and I'll also play baseball. Therefore, I'm serving God, but I'm also being a baseball player too at the same time. And therefore, the father doesn't say anything to him or anything like that either. And that's whenever he's at a younger age. But you can still see that Ricky is still that person that's still trying and also to not letting anything stop him, no matter how much the darkness gets to him. Like, for instance, he winds up catching a ball and he accidentally trips over the water sprinkler. He winds up breaking his ankle and he has to go undergo this surgery, but his bones will not heal the way that a normal person will heal either because of the whole entire degenerative problems that he has with his body. And matter of fact, the doctor said, well, your son has the body of a 70-year-old man and he may not be able to walk or recover from this like a normal 17 or 16-year-old kid would. But Ricky, what does Ricky do? He winds up at first he's feeling sorry for himself. He's just probably going to give up and everything. His girlfriend from whenever he was little winds up meeting up with him later on in this movie. And I thought the girlfriend aspect to this was really good. It's basically a light to that darkness that Ricky is about to give up. And if it wasn't for her, he probably would have. And, he winds up going on ahead, trying to practice for the tryouts, trying to get himself ready and prepared for this. This movie is so moving. I think that this is a great time for a movie like this to come out. And like I said, this is an underdog. This is going to be one of those movies that will hold up in conversations later on and things like that too, where you actually have your Rocky movies, you have Rudy, you have other underdog movies within stuff like this. I think that The Hill is going to be one of those movies that are going to be held for conversations as well because of the fact that you're rooting for somebody that you care about. And also, too, you also have this Christianity aspect to it as well, which is something that I really like that you can actually bring your kids to. And, I think that we actually need something like this in today's times. And there's also the fact that, with Bobby to where he wants to succeed in the MLB, and there's also the scout. Now, let me just tell you this, okay? I think they picked the right person to do the tryouts for the MLB tryouts, and that's actually a character named Red Murph. Red Murph is played by Scott Glenn. Scott Glenn was actually in the Daredevil TV series training Matt Murdock. And also, too, he was also in a couple of other movies that I've seen him in that I really liked. And then you also have Colin Ford, who plays the older version of Rickey Hill. He's just recently played in Dahmer, which I heard was really good things about that show. But you have a great cast, and the director definitely knows how to get the best out of his actors. And this is hands down probably one of the best biopics that I've seen in a while when it comes down to stuff. And some people are like, well, looks like something that you would actually see in the early 90s or early 2000s. But who cares? It has heart, it has soul, it has everything that you want in an underdog story. And this is something that I think that needs to be told. You'll be crying, you'll be laughing, you're rooting for him, you'll be sharing with the crowd, you'll be energized within the crowd itself. This was a privilege to be able to watch and to be able to see at the movie theater last weekend with my wife. And I had a feeling that I was in for something great whenever I seen the cast, whenever I saw Dennis Quaid, who played in The Rookie, and now he's playing a preacher type role where he's like not wanting Ricky to play, and then he's also blinded to his own understandings of all these miracles that's being performed, but he's just not paying attention to what's in front of him. When I think whenever, and this is something I want to just get off my chest real quick, I think when we're close to something, we miss it because of the fact that we're so close to it. But from an outsider's perspective and things like that too, people will take notice more than somebody that's on the inside watching something. I think that's what he was. I think that Dennis Quaid's character is just so close to him because of the fact to Ricky, because that's his son and he doesn't want to see him hurt. But at the same time, he's also slowing Ricky down from his goals. And there's that line of, should I go on ahead and believe in him and doing this, or should I not do this? And, he winds up trying to figure out stuff. And, as a parent, you want what's best for your kid and things like that too, especially if he has some type of disability and stuff like that too. And you don't want to be hurt. But at the same time, with Ricky's condition, you need to let him grow. You need to let him do what he wants to do. And that's to play baseball. And he does wind up succeeding. And I know that might be coming off as a little bit of a spoiler alert, but just Google the information and you'll wind up seeing it laid out in front of you. But tell me what you guys think. Did you guys like The Hill? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button. Tonight at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, I will be interviewing Rickey Hill himself and also the director of The Hill. So go ahead and check that out, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And always until next time, guys, I hope everyone has a great and safe day. And I'll catch you guys back on the next one.